Hey all, in this video I'm going to show you how to set up an Optidress on a Mitsui surface grinder. This is an older Mitsui, has a rounder spindle. The newer Mitsuis have a square spindle. The mounting holes are all the same though, so no difference there. First you want to scrape the paint off if you have paint there and get a nice flat surface so you can mount your mounting block on there for the Optidress. The tools you're going to need is a 1/2 inch wrench, 3 mil, 5 mil, and a 6 mil Allen key, some light spindle oil, and a 1/10 indicator or half thou indicator will do as well. So next I'm going to mount this mounting block onto the spindle. Once you get everything snugged down, you can put your studs in. The long thread goes into the block. Short thread goes up top. I go about a little less than halfway down. Next you can put your Optidress spacer block on. This is the one that comes with the Optidress. So that goes on like so. Next you can put your X and Y slides on. X and Y slides drop over the studs. Your washers and your acorn nuts go next. Snug these down, but you don't want to tighten them fully yet because you have to shift the Optidress left or right to get it to line up with the axis of the grinder. Next you can put your digital readout on. It takes a 6mm Allen head. Plug your X and Y plugs in the back. These are configured with different pin sizes. So one has 9 pins and the other has 5, so you can't mix them up. Just make sure you get your pins in the right location so it plugs in correctly. Next, your jumper wire goes on. Once you got that all connected, you can tighten down that bolt in the back so the digital readout's nice and tight. And next you want to get the bores ready for some light spindle oil. So these just get wiped with a nice lint-free cloth. This is a spacer washer that'll be going on. This is the swivel bracket. Just make sure the bores are cleaned out and free of dirt. Next, you can add some light spindle oil. This is light PTE light, just a light film on all the mating surfaces. Next, the spacer washer goes on top of the cross slide knuckle, like so. And swivel bracket attaches over that. So, keeping your spacer aligned. And you'll just want to line that up as best you can with your eyes so the microscope can drop in there nice and even. I'll just check that, make sure everything's lined up. Looks good. Next, your microscope can go in. Microscope, bit of cleaning. A little white spindle oil on it. And when you drop this into the bore, make sure you get it in there nice and straight. If you get it in there crooked, it's going to get stuck. So the straighter you go in, the better. Okay, so once you get it started, there's a drive spring and a dowel. These get lined up with one down here. There's an access window. Get to that. Two straight blade screws. And there's your access window, and now you can see the lower dowel. So this upper dowel and the clip capture around the lower dowel. That engages the rotary transducer. So as you're sliding this down, you just want to capture that around the lower dowel, and you're good. And you can get your scope somewhere in the center around here. We'll line that up further later. And now you can lock the scope in with the pinch screw in the back, 5mm. It's recessed into the casting. That locks the microscope into its place. Next, you can plug in the rest of your wires. Make sure your pins are all lined up. Goes on like so, and then your access window back on. Okay, so that's all set. Next, your diamond arm goes on. Tighten that down. Your pivot should be nice and free, like so. Should move around its axis here very nice and smoothly. No tight spots. Next, you can plug your transformer in. There's a 9-volt side and a 6-volt side. 9 volts for the digital readout. Power plug and your illuminator. Turn the unit on, comes up set. So it wants you to set the master stop. Swing over to your master stop here. It's the one that's pinned. You never want to loosen that one. That's calibrated from the factory. come up to your stop post slowly and hit the end button. And now it's registering 95 degrees. So when you swing out to 0, it'll be 0. There's 0. I had these stops preset for 0. You can adjust these stops to any angle you like. There's 3 different rows, so you can set them accordingly to the drawing you're working off of. Okay, so next step would be to check the center line and to make sure that is within spec. And how I like to do it, I found the easiest way is these wheel hubs are 1 inch 250 thousandths. So if you take your setting ring, this setting ring comes with the Optidress, you just grind down the periphery a little bit here, the outside diameter, to 1 inch 250, and that matches that one. So you can put that in the diamond arm and line it up approximately evenly, so you can put an indicator on there and check your center line height. I use an indicator holder like this. Just get that to a touch. I use the up feed of the grinder until it touches. And set it on a 0 and find a high spot. Okay, that's good. Now you can wind over and see how far off you are on the setting ring that's ground to 1 inch 250 as well, same diameter as this. So you'll see if it's either sitting too low or if it's sitting too high. The spec is 5 thousandths, so you have 5 thousandths of leeway there on center line. And this looks like it's within, get that to touch, and this is within 1 thousandths, so that's fine. That's within spec. If it was more than 5 thousandths, you would either have to shim this to get it to sit higher or grind some off of the spacer block to get it to sit lower, whatever the case may be. These blocks we get the dimensions from Mitsui, and we try to get them as close as possible. So in some cases you won't have to grind at all or shim at all. It should be pretty close to center line. So once you get that settled, then you can square the unit into the machine. I put an indicator, 1/10 indicator in the diamond arm. Swing it back out to your 0. I have the 2 stops set for 0. This is 0. Next I like to use a 1, 2, 3 block and indicate in off of that. So I'll get that on there. First thing I'll check to make sure it's square. Touch off. Oh, not low enough. Touch off on 0, feed it across, see how straight that block is first. And for some reason are always off by about 1 thou. So I'll tap that in to get that back to 0. And then run it back and just make sure it's straight now. That looks good. So I know this block is straight. So I'll put it in the middle of the block for travel. And now I'll line the Optidress up to this block. So first make sure you're set at 0 on your angle. And using your tangent slide, you're going to run the tangent slide left to right here until you get, by moving the Optidress left to right, until you get it to run 0, 0. So I bring the tangent slide all the way to the left. Touch off on the block, set it for 0. And then run the tangent slide through its travel and see how far off I am. So I'm way off. I know I got to move my Optidress either left or right, so I'll try going left first and see how that affects it. That's better. So I know I still got to go some more to the left. So I'm going to move the Optidress a little more. Set my tandem slide back to the left. Touch off on the 0 again. And run the indicator and see where it's moving to, and hopefully it'll get 0, 0. That's within a thou now. I'm sorry, that's within a tenth, so I'm very happy with that. It's almost dead nuts from one end to the other. The closer you get that, the more accurate the Optidress will be. So, once you're happy with the alignment, tighten your nuts down nice and tight. Nice and tight. Recheck it one more time just to make sure it didn't shift when you tightened it. Nope, looks good. So next step will be to align the microscope. Easiest way to do that is using your poly tip holder. Turn it around backward and 90 degrees so you can pick up the edges here. Put it in backward. Set yourself at 0 again with your stop. So I'm at 0. Put your illuminator under there. And now what I'm going to do is move the microscope either left or right until this image is straight across the screen. There's a gradical in there. You want to match the image to the gradical so it's straight across, not cockeyed like that. So let me just take a quick look. And it's sitting like this. So I have to move the microscope either left or right via the pinch screw back here. So loosen that up a little. Now I'll move the scope left or right. Looks like it had to go left. So I'm happy with it going, image going straight across the gradical. And lock your screw back down in the back. That'll lock the scope back in. Don't crank it down, just snug it with the long end of the wrench. Check it again, sometimes it does move. Looks good, so that's good. And you can reset your 95. Back out to 0. Check it again. Looks good. So now your Optidress is ready to dress. Next step, I'll put the wheel guard back on. This is a Mitsui wheel guard from Mitsui, supplied from them, and they are nice wheel guards. You have to cut a small notch out for clearance so the transducer here doesn't hit when you swing over. Other than that, that's all you have to do. Cut a small notch out and you're ready to go. I like the Mitsui style wheel guard. They still sell these. You can still get them from Mitsui. And now you're ready to go. All you have to do is install your wheel. Always test that, ring test it, right? That's cracked. Ready to roll. Tight. Now you're ready to dress. diamond back over in forward. I always line it up to the center, right on the bullseye. And now you're ready to dress. So that's setting up an Optidress on a Mitsui. Probably take you about a half hour. Unless you got to adjust that center line, it could take a little longer. The Optidress is supplied with poly tips. These are PCD diamonds. It has 3 usable tips on the top. Flip it over, 3 more. So you got 6 usable tips. We sell these poly tips for $320 for a package of 3. So they are very durable and they give a great finish. And I always try to keep them in stock. If you have any questions on this installation, my name is Henry. Please call me 860-243-0341. I work for Precision International. Thank you.